Have you ever seen those videos online where someone gets pulled over by the police and starts talking about common law, saying they don't consent, and declaring themselves a sovereign citizen or a freeman on the land? It's a fascinating and often dramatic scene. But what's the real story behind it, especially here in the UK? Do these claims actually hold any legal weight? Can you just declare yourself outside the law and not have to follow the rules like everyone else? Today, we're diving deep into this topic to separate fact from fiction. First, let's break down what this movement is all about. The core idea is that individuals believe they are only bound by laws they consent to, often referring to something they call common law or natural law. They argue that most modern laws, like traffic regulations, tax laws, and even the requirement to have a driving license, are contracts that they have not agreed to. Therefore, they believe they don't have to comply. They often use specific, unusual language, thinking it has special legal power, like referring to themselves as a living man or woman instead of a person, which they believe is a legal fiction or a corporation. It sounds like a clever loophole, right? If you could just opt out of laws you don't like, life might seem a lot simpler. But here's the crucial part. From a legal standpoint, in the United Kingdom, this entire argument has no basis. It has been tested in court many, many times, and every single time it has been completely rejected by judges. Let's look at the police interaction. When a police officer stops you, whether you're driving or walking, they are acting under legal powers granted to them by Parliament. For example, under the Road Traffic Act, they have the power to stop any vehicle at any time. They can ask you for your name, your address, your driving license, and your insurance details. Claiming you are a sovereign citizen and don't recognize their authority doesn't magically make these powers disappear. The police have a duty to enforce the law as it is written. They aren't legal scholars who are there to debate the philosophical merits of your beliefs. They are there to carry out their duties. If you refuse to provide the information they are legally entitled to ask for, you're not engaging in a high-level legal debate. You are, in fact, committing a separate offense. This could be something like obstructing a police officer or failing to provide driver details. Think about it this way. The laws of the United Kingdom apply to everyone within its jurisdiction. It doesn't matter what you believe, what you call yourself, or what documents you've signed in your own home. The courts have consistently ruled that these freeman or sovereign citizen arguments are, to use the legal terminology, frivolous, vexatious, and without any merit. One judge famously described these arguments as gobbledygook and nonsense. So, why do people keep trying it? Well, the ideas are often spread online through charismatic figures who present this as a hidden secret the government doesn't want you to know. They sell books, seminars, and template documents, often making a lot of money from people who are genuinely frustrated with the system. They present complex legal history in a very simplified and often incorrect way, picking and choosing bits of Magna Carta or old common law texts completely out of context. Let's take Magna Carta, for instance. It's often cited as a source of these so-called ancient rights. But Magna Carta was a specific agreement in 1215 between King John and his barons. Most of its clauses have been repealed over the centuries and have no application to a modern-day traffic stop. The idea that it gives you the right to ignore a police officer is a complete misinterpretation. So, what happens when you try this in the real world? Let's walk through a typical scenario. You get pulled over for speeding. The officer asks for your license. You refuse and start talking about not consenting and being a free man on the land. The officer will likely be patient at first, but their patience will run out. They will explain the law and what you are required to do. If you continue to refuse, the situation will escalate. You could be arrested for failing to provide your details, or for the original offense. Your car might be seized because you can't prove you're insured. You'll end up in court, not just for the speeding ticket, but for the additional offenses you committed during the stop. And when you stand before the judge and try to use these sovereign citizen arguments, they will be dismissed. You will likely be found guilty, fined, get points on your license, or even face a more serious penalty. You'll end up in a much worse position than if you had simply complied in the first place. There are countless court cases that confirm this. In every instance, the judiciary has been crystal clear. You cannot unilaterally decide which laws apply to you. The law applies to everyone equally. This is a fundamental principle of the rule of law. It ensures that society functions in a fair and orderly way. If people could just opt out of laws they didn't like, society would quickly descend into chaos. Imagine if people could decide not to pay taxes, or ignore traffic lights, or not register their cars. It simply wouldn't work. It's also important to remember your rights when dealing with the police. You do have rights. You have the right to remain silent, but the police can still ask for your name and address. You have the right to legal advice, but these rights exist within the legal system, not outside of it. Trying to use sovereign citizen tactics is not exercising your rights. It's an attempt to invent a new legal system that only exists in your own mind. In conclusion, while the idea of being a sovereign citizen might sound appealing to some, it is a legal dead end in the UK. When a police officer asks you to comply with a lawful request, you are legally obligated to do so. Refusing on the basis of these theories will not lead to your freedom. It will almost certainly lead to more legal trouble, fines, and potentially even a criminal record. The law applies to everyone, whether they consent to it or not. The best approach is always to understand your actual legal rights, be polite and compliant during a stop and challenge. Any issues you have through the proper legal channels, like a court with a qualified solicitor, not with pseudo-legal arguments on the side of the road. Thanks for watching. I hope this cleared up some of the confusion surrounding this topic. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more legal breakdowns, and hit that notification bell. Stay safe and stay informed.